The Cannes Film Festival, one of the premier film festivals in the world, and the lineup for the 2024 edition has just been announced. Hi, it's Brian. Welcome to the Awards Contender, and I had to make a video talking about the films that are making their world premieres at the upcoming Cannes Film Festival. I am not personally going. I have never been to Cannes. I would love to go at some point. I'm hoping maybe next year, 2025. It's on my bucket list for sure. Now, I'm not going to talk about every single film that got in. We would be here a while, but I did pick and choose some of my favorites, some of the ones I'm really excited about that got into competition and a couple that got into out of competition. Let's start with some competition titles, and I'll go in alphabetical order, starting with Anora, written and directed by Sean Baker. According to IMDb, this is a comedy about a sex worker, and basically here's the deal. I will follow Sean Baker anywhere. I mean, you go back to Tangerine and The Florida Project, and especially Red Rocket starring Simon Rex. I mean, this guy has such a singular voice. You know it's him watching any one scene from his films, and so I'm always excited for a new Sean Baker project. It doesn't have to have any big stars in it. I don't need to know much about the story. I don't need to know how big the budget is, if he's somehow gotten more money this time. I don't care. Sean Baker has a new movie, and I'm there. So I'm very excited for this one. Next, The Apprentice, which is a film about Donald Trump in the 1980s starring Sebastian Stan as Trump. And Jeremy Strong is in it, Maria Bakalova. And as I talked about in my recent video about 10 films coming in 2024, I think could be Oscar nominees in multiple categories, I did have The Apprentice on there just because I feel like it could be the next Vice instead of the next W. I mean, nobody's really seen it yet. This one could go in a few different directions. I mean, we'll know next month if The Apprentice is going to be an Oscar player. If those initial reviews are not good, the road will be over for The Apprentice, and we'll see what happens with it. I am very intrigued about this one, especially Stan playing Donald Trump. He was excellent in a film I saw at Sundance called A Different Man. That one is also coming later this year, and it's gotten great reviews. And so 2024 might be the year of Sebastian Stan. Do not be surprised in a little under a year from now if Sebastian Stan gets his first Oscar nomination. Whether it's for A Different Man or The Apprentice, we shall see. Next up is definitely one of my most anticipated films of Cannes this year, Bird, written and directed by Andrea Arnold and starring Barry Keoghan and Franz Rogowski. I love the work of Andrea Arnold. American Honey is very smart and original, and especially Fish Tank. Fish Tank, I think from 2009, starring Michael Fassbender. That was just a random movie I rented at the library one day, and I went completely nuts for Fish Tank. It is a brilliant film, so anything she has new, I will be there. And then having these two men in the cast who gave two of my favorite performances last year, Barry Keoghan from Saltburn and Franz Rogowski from Passages. Having them together in the same movie, I am intrigued. And so this level of talent with that amazing writer-director, I'm definitely going to keep my eye on Bird. Emilia Perez is another one that looks interesting. Another great cast. You have Zoe Saldana, Selena Gomez, Edgar Ramirez, and it's from the director of A Prophet and Rust and Bone, Jacques Audiard. He also made The Sisters Brothers from 2018, starring John C. Reilly and Joaquin Phoenix. I thought that was kind of an underrated Western. It was kind of interesting. I enjoyed that one, but especially Rust and Bone. I saw that in a theater, and I said, okay, finally, Marion Cotillard is coming for her second Oscar nomination, and I think she got in at Golden Globes and Critics' Choice and SAG. She might have even gotten in at BAFTA. It was one of those performances that pretty much got in everywhere, but then she didn't get the Oscar nomination in the end, which was so upsetting to me. I remember I was so disappointed. This director is another visionary. He gets amazing performances out of his actors. And so Emilia Perez, I have high hopes. All right, now let's finally talk about one of the big ones, Kinds of Kindness. In my previous video about potential Oscar caliber movies coming out in 2024, I listed a lot of titles. I did not talk about Kinds of Kindness, the new film from Yorgos Lanthimos, and there were a lot of comments that were like, how did you not mention this movie? It's probably going to be an Oscar player, and it could be. There are just a couple things about Kinds of Kindness that makes me doubtful about its Oscar chances. One is that it's opening in June, and so I'm getting like Asteroid City vibes in a way. Like, if it's a big Oscar movie, you would think they would hold it to a little bit later in the year. Not that a June release spells doom for a film's Oscar chances. I mean, Elvis came out in June, and films in recent years have opened before June and have gone on to win lots of Oscars like Everything Everywhere All at Once. But the second thing that gives me doubt, and I would say the bigger thing, is that I've read it's an anthology film where the cast members play multiple roles. And I'm like, if it's an anthology film with multiple stories, with the same actors playing 3 or 4 different parts in the movie, I don't know what it is. I'm just like, that's not going to be an Oscar movie. It's of course going to be a movie many people like or love. I am very excited for Kinds of Kindness. I think it's amazing we got Poor Things just a few months ago, one of my favorite films of 2023. Emma Stone goes on to win the Oscar for Best Actress, and then mere weeks after the 96 Academy Awards, we have a new Yorgos Lanthimos movie with Emma Stone. Like, typically we would have to wait another year or two to get another collaboration from Lanthimos and Stone, but I think they shot this movie last year and it was done. So it's going to Cannes and then it's opening in theaters in June. I have my fingers crossed. This is going to be a great movie, as good as Poor Things. I would be shocked and delighted. I mean, whatever Kinds of Kindness is, no matter how good or great or indifferent the reviews are out of Cannes, I will be there in June on opening night. Another big one premiering at Cannes is Megalopolis, the new film from Francis Ford Coppola. That was my number 10 choice in that previous video, a movie that I think could be an Oscar player next year. And, you know, I do have my doubts on that one. It could crash and burn big time. Like, we'll know in a few weeks if it's going to be an Oscar movie, if it's something people are going to really love. I do think if most of the reviews out of Cannes are disastrous, I do think that movie could just quietly go away, not even get a traditional release. I don't really know what's happening with that right now. There's been stories in recent days about how Coppola can't get a studio to buy the movie, even though he has spent all of his own money in the production and post-production making this film. Like, nobody is taking it on. It's like, what? Like, what kind of a movie is this if a studio will not pick it up? I mean, it's Francis Ford Coppola, for God's sake. I mean, he is a legend going back to the 70s and The Godfather, Godfather 2, and The Conversation, and Apocalypse Now. And he hasn't been very active as a director the last couple of decades. What was his last movie? It was like Twixt or something in 2011. And then every year since, we've heard rumblings about Megalopolis. Is he going to make this passion project he started writing the screenplay for in the 1980s? I mean, this is a movie he has put a lot of thought into for like 40 years. So I'm intrigued. Like, what is this film? What was so important to Francis Ford Coppola to get this movie made before he dies? Like, there's gotta be something to it, right? There's gotta be something special about Megalopolis. And so I don't know about you, I was very relieved when I saw that Megalopolis was premiering at Cannes. That means we only have to wait another month or so before we find out, like, what is this movie? Is it good? Is it great? Is it a total disaster? Like, I'm kind of up for anything. Like, I am ready to read those initial reviews, Bring them on. Oh Canada is another film that intrigues me. It's written and directed by Paul Schrader, and it stars Jacob Elordi, Uma Thurman, and Richard Gere. I don't know too much about this one, but I'm hoping Oh Canada is more like First Reformed, starring Ethan Hawke, and not so much like Master Gardener, starring Joel Edgerton. I just tried to watch Master Gardener a couple weeks ago. I rented the Blu-ray from my library, and I made it about 30 minutes. And I was like, I could keep watching this, but I'm so bored. like Sigourney Weaver was the only thing that kept me going for a bit there. I got to a point in that movie where I said to myself, I cannot watch this thing for one more minute. And so I turned it off. I was like, I'm good. So Paul Schrader can be hit and miss. I don't love everything he makes, but First Reformed was incredible. Ethan Hawke deserved an Oscar nomination for Best Actor. And then, going back to his screenplays for Taxi Driver and Raging Bull, this is a very talented writer-director when he gets the right story and the right cast. And Oh Canada has Uma Thurman, who I've always found very underrated. I would love to see her in more dramatic roles. And Richard Gere, it's an American Gigolo reunion, 44 years later? That's kind of cool. And then Jacob Elordi just keeps picking really interesting projects, working with talented directors. Last year he was in both Priscilla and Saltburn. And now he has a new film with Paul Schrader, and he's currently filming that Frankenstein movie directed by Guillermo del Toro. So Elordi is making good choices in his career right now, and I'm very excited for Oh Canada. Parthenope is a film I think we need to take seriously. It stars Gary Oldman, and it's directed by Paolo Sorrentino, who made The Great Beauty and Youth and The Hand of God. I don't know too much about this one, but that is another very talented writer-director. One of those people, when they have a new movie, I will go check it out, regardless of who's in it, what the story is. But having Gary Oldman at the center of that one, I'll be curious to see how that writer-director and Oldman work together. It looks like it might have some fantasy elements to it, so I'm definitely going to check out that one. And then the last film I want to talk about that got into competition is maybe my most anticipated film of the festival. I am a huge David Cronenberg fan. Going back to the 1970s, I love most of his work. I think he is such a visionary, and he doesn't make too many movies anymore. I think Crimes of the Future in 2022 was his first film in 8 years. So I was like, is that going to be his last movie? Is he going to make anything else? And then just 2 years later to get a new movie from Cronenberg. It's called The Shrouds, and this is the premise on IMDb. An innovative businessman and grieving widower builds a device to connect with the dead inside a burial shroud. I'm in. I am totally 100% in on this movie. It also has a great cast. The fact that he got this one made seemingly a lot faster than Crimes of the Future also gives me hope. Here's the deal. We're only going to get so many more David Cronenberg films. There might just be a couple more. This might be the last one. I don't know. Anytime this amazing filmmaker makes a new movie, it is a reason to celebrate. I cannot wait to see The Shrouds. And then there's so many other films I could talk about, a variety of categories. I just don't know too much about the other films. In the midnight screening section, we have a new movie starring Nicolas Cage called The Surfer. I am intrigued about that one. We'll see what the reviews are like. I'll end with 3 films premiering out of competition I'm intrigued by, and that's Rumors, Horizon, and Furiosa. These 3 films I'm definitely going to check out. Rumors, you have Cate Blanchett. I'm at the point now, I don't know about you, if Cate Blanchett is in the movie, I will see it, no matter what. Even that upcoming Borderlands movie with Jamie Lee Curtis, which looks kind of rough, I'll still probably check it out for Blanchett. And then Rumors, she's in it with Alicia Vikander. It's got a great cast. The stills that have been released look gorgeous, so I will definitely see that one. Horizon, the new film from Kevin Costner, I want to believe in that movie. I want it to be great. we haven't really had a big Western epic saga released to theaters in a long time, and Kevin Costner, of course, goes all the way back to Dances with Wolves, which won him the Oscars for Best Picture and Best Director. He also made Open Range in 2003, which I think is a great movie. And so I'm hoping this is a return to form for Costner. I do think it's weird that it's being split up into two different movies. I feel like that one could just be one big film. I mean, are we trying to do Kill Bill Volume 1 and Volume 2 here? For a theatrical experience, having chapters 1 and 2 for Horizon is kind of odd to me, but we'll see if it works out. Maybe both parts will be big hits, I don't know. But let's say the films do well, and then come Oscar time, are we nominating one movie over the other? They're both coming out this year, so we'll see how that works out. And then finally, Furiosa, a Mad Max saga. I cannot wait. I loved Mad Max Fury Road. That was one of the most thrilling experiences I have had in a theater in the last decade. I think George Miller is a genius, especially at visceral action filmmaking. There was nothing like Mad Max Fury Road, and to get a new film in that world starring Anya Taylor-Joy and an unrecognizable Chris Hemsworth, like George Miller is back with a new Mad Max movie. Sign me up. It might be getting its world premiere at the Cannes Film Festival, but then the rest of us will get it very soon thereafter. It's opening in theaters at the end of May. Furiosa, a Mad Max saga. I cannot wait. Thanks so much for watching and subscribing, and let me know in the comments below what are some films premiering at this year's Cannes Film Festival you are most excited to see, and we'll see you next time at the Awards Contender.